yeah,
Yeah, but
it's fine.
that's good. It's better than being bored and not having enough to do.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I've always had so much to do, so the stage of being bored is something I miss actually.
You need to go to Christmas. I can imagine Christmas over there is beautiful. Have you been to the markets yet?
Sorry, what?
Have you been to any Christmas markets yet?
Oh, yeah, they're beautiful.
Oh,
They already started end of November, I think. People here are crazy about them.
See, I went to Poland a couple of months ago, and we missed the not a couple of months, sorry, a couple of weeks ago, and we missed the Christmas markets by a couple of days, and I was so upset because it was so cold, and I would have loved to have seen them. We don't go in Manchester. We don't go around the Christmas markets because it's too expensive.
You live in Manchester?
Yes.
I love Manchester.
Really?
Yeah, I did my MBA in Lancaster.
In Lancaster?
Yes.
I'm from Lancaster.
Are you from Lancaster? Oh, you poor thing.
Everybody says that. There is, and you know the one nightclub that's in Lancaster? I used to work there.
What's the name?
Dalton. Oh, sorry.
No, I don't remember now. It's just been a while, but yeah.
That's crazy.
Whatever.
I'm literally.
There were 2 bars in Lancaster,
Yeah.
like 2 nightclubs.
It's awful. It's so awful.
But no, the scenery is very nice. It's very close to the Lake District, and the school is very good.
It is. It's top. It's in the top 10, I think, of England.
It's really good. Yeah, when I started, it was like 12 in the world. I think the MBA at least. But yeah, it was good. It was a very good experience. But Lancaster itself, and I have a very good friend who actually was from Lancaster, and yeah, it's a bit depressing.
It's boring. It's so boring. I went home this weekend for a funeral, and I went into town and I wanted to get a coffee. There's no contactless. There's no, the buses are so late, and I'm just like, my mum said as well after I graduate, she was like, "Oh, are you coming home?" No, absolutely not.
Manchester is close enough and far enough to make you happy, so that's a great choice.
But then she's thinking, oh, what about grandchildren? How am I going to look after them? I was like, well, you're going to have to come to Manchester because there's no way I'm going back there. So anyway, I've told you about this blog. I'm writing it because it is something that's really interesting to me. I'm really lucky in the fact that Ecom have said, write whatever you want, talk about whatever you want. And this is something that is really important to me because in Manchester, we work quite heavily with the community in a company called Manchester Digital. And they go into schools, they go into, a little bit like what you guys do, go into schools and just try and inspire girls to kind of, get into tech and don't think that, it's a boys' game and all that kind of stuff. And it's just really interesting because when I first started, I really didn't realise that there was such a gap. I kind of just thought that it was like we're just, I thought we were equal. But I've heard stories of people that will go into, people in tech will go into a school and they'll say, who wants to create these kind of things? And all the girls are like, we can't do that. And it's just, I don't know, it really gets to me. And I just think that it's the sort of thing that people should be talking about. And I think that with a company like this, if we're employing people, that we should show that we support, the same, gender pay gap and to inspire the younger generation to do things like that.
Good. Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised at all that there is a gap because I've been in this for almost my career. I started computer sciences, both bachelor and master, so I did 5 years of computer sciences and then another year in Italy, and then started working in the industry. Yes, there is a big difference between guys and girls. In Albania, where I'm from Albania, when we started the university, there was almost 60% girls in the class. When we graduated, the percentage was a bit different. There were less, so maybe it was 40-60 or 50-50 something. And the reason for that is, I think, because I think there are various reasons for that, but there is a big difference between what happens then after. So then when I started working in the industry, more and more women, you'd see that they would go away from the profession, like from the real technical stuff. And it's also very understandable, because it's very unlikely that women will also move up the chain, like they move in management positions or things like that in the industry. So that's very difficult. So my experience in the tech sector, to also get back to your question, is that, as I said, I did an education. I had an education, almost 6-year education. While I was studying, I was actually running my own businesses. I had a couple of shops that I set up and I was managing. So I was also looking at the business side of things. When I started working, I started actually working in the Council of Ministers in the Department of Public Administration. So very early on, I was introduced to policy making and how much people misunderstood tech and IT, and they just didn't realize how important that was. So I started there as a technician, but then you see I was gravitating more and more towards kind of trying to make policymakers understand, what we were talking about. And I worked a lot with e-government, so all the first initiatives on e-governance in Albania started with me and with the department I was working with. So very naturally, I actually started thinking to transition into a role that would help translate IT to decision makers, managers, leaders, etc. So I figured that there was so much need for that role. So I actually was very technical for 2-3 years, and then I decided I was going to do an MBA and work in this transition role and help policy making and strategy into developing better policies to develop ICT. And as you can imagine, in those years, both when I was studying and there was a real work environment, I was a minority. So I was very often the only woman in the room. Things actually didn't change much after I did my MBA, because I always worked as a manager in an IT environment. I was sitting in a board for a telecommunication regulator, was working with telecommunication, and then I was working for policy, etc. in the ICT industry. So I've kind of been the only woman in the room my entire life. So I know very well the pain of being a woman in tech. It's not easy. So my experience in the tech sector has come very naturally with me studying IT, because I was very much into math. So I really wanted to do something that was heavily math oriented, and the IT university in Albania at the time was very influenced by the Russian and the French models. So it was very heavily packed with science, with math and physics and all this sort of scientific things. So I really liked it. But then when I got into the field, I was gravitating more and more towards a role that would bring together technology and management, because I have experience from both. The steps I took to come where I am today, I think it's first, follow the education. So you have to do the hard stuff, and that is educate and learn and be good at what you're doing. And initially that was in tech subjects, and then also in management. But also very important to understand where the balance lies, and also to understand what are your key strengths. So for me, I was very quickly realizing that I was very good at bringing people together and at actually making people understand the importance of technology, and also, my love for technology and my love for managing and building and startups, building new realities where would they marry? And that's how I actually am here today, trying to bring more women in tech in the refugee and migrant community here in Germany.
Lovely. And so as you said about the migrant and that kind of thing, what kind of was there any a moment where you think this is what I was going to do? What kind of steps did you have to think, okay, I want to focus solely on immigration and migrant and getting those guys into tech, girls into tech?
Yes. Yeah. Well, career and pursuing a career is it's the combination of two things, of course, of three things actually. Is first skills, second passion, and third is circumstances. Mm-hmm. And they are all very important in the pursuing of a career and also in finding yourself and having the career that you have. So for me, I had always been working in tech. Recently, I was also, as I said, in tech, but also always with a very strong element of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So not an entrepreneur anymore, so not my own startups, but within the realities I was always building something new and creating something new. And the last thing I did was I set up the first IT innovation center in Albania, and I was the CEO of that for 4 years, and we did all sorts of new innovative things. We brought those in Albania to set up an entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we did the first startup weekends, the first networking events to bring together investors and entrepreneurs. We did a lot of get-together to bring together government, private sector, and academia to bring, to improve the situation, etc. Always with a focus in the ICT sector. And always in these tables, in these round tables, and in these events, the amount of men was striking. Mm. But not only that, but you could see that the higher the position, the higher the importance of people sitting at the table in terms of titles, the less women there were. So as I said, I found myself very lonely around a lot of tables and a lot of discussions. And so I started thinking about how important it was to have more women at the table and in these discussions, because for various reasons, and these reasons that we all know, we approach problems differently. And we have different mindsets and different solutions, and that brings more diversity and more innovation in the table. So I started doing these little things like bringing together women in tech and round tables, etc. And I've always been a very independent woman, living in a country that is very male-dominated and in an industry that is very male-dominated. So very naturally, I would rebel to this situation, and I would have a very passionate discussions and passionate talks about how we should be equal, how women should have more, a different role in society. People should start looking at women as, contributors into the society, just as important as men are, and start from there. So for me, that was something very passionate, and had already started to think about, okay, I should do something about women in tech, like whatever it is to help more women come in tech, but most importantly, also support that women that are existing, that at the moment are working in tech, in going through what they're going through, and that is not easy. So this was my idea, and after I actually quit this CEO position, that was quite intense and also very, setting up an organization and leading that for a number of years, I decided I wanted to take some time off and think about what I wanted to do in the future. And I was also considering moving to a bigger reality, because I had done almost everything I found interesting in Tirana, and Tirana is a small reality, and I wanted a bigger challenge. A friend of mine from London kept telling me, you should move to Berlin. So through my contacts in the startup ecosystems, I actually came to Berlin to do a German course and met with various people just to see what is Berlin about, what is there a reality that I can actually make a contribution with my experience, would I like it here, And I met a few people through my contacts. I was introduced to a few people, and I met Anne, the co-founder and CEO of Ready School, and I really immediately fell in love with the idea of Ready School because, well, first, the Ready School is a very magical place. It really is. You know, when you hear about it first, you really fall in love with it because it's a brilliant idea about bringing other people who are our volunteer teachers to actually help achieving a very big mission. And the big mission is to help refugees and migrants integrate through technology. And while I was talking to Anne about this, and this was very similar to Protic, the center that I had created, I set up. So it had the look and feel of a startup in an innovation, reality. It had the same fluidity. So it wasn't this built corporation. That I really liked. It felt very familiar. And then by the end of the conversation, I told Anne, well, I really want to do something about women in tech. This is my goal. And she said, oh, we just applied for a project for women in tech. And I said, oh, I'd love to do that. She's like, oh, really? So we talked a bit about that. And then a week after, I came to Ready School to be a mentor in a hackathon. And Anne just walked up to me and she said, well, we got the money. When can you start? And then I had to kind of make a decision because I was working with a German international corporation at the time. After my year off, I started this job trying to promote entrepreneurship in Albania through the GIZ. And it suddenly became very real, and I was facing, a very big choice in my life. And I thought about it, and I said, well, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to make a contribution in a bigger reality, and this is what I wanted. And it actually combines two big passions of mine. First is tech, and the second is women issues, and empowering and educating women and advising women on taking a bigger space in their universe, because we try to have very small space as women. We need to expand because we are bigger. So doing that was also I was very passionate about. And the other thing that is also very important is actually helping refugees and migrants. And I do come from a country of refugees. So my country has gone through that plague, and a lot of people I know has gone through that, and I know how difficult that is. So I said, well, this is also something that will allow me to be better at helping them in this reality. So I said that this sounds perfect, and I gave up my very good and comfortable life back home and moved to Berlin, and I started working with Ready School, setting up our digital women program.
Lovely. And let's talk more about the school as well. So the age limit for the age range. What are we saying? Are we saying like teenagers? Are we?
The digital women program, we start from 16 to 60. We don't have an upper age limit. We have a lower age limit, and we don't go under 16. And the only reason for that is because the learning capabilities and styles are different when you are 16 and when you are 60. Definitely. So having these two, even if you go lower, then it's just very difficult. But we have also done teenagers. We've done a programming for teenage girls, so we also try to do things for younger. And now we also have a kids program for children, and then we're thinking of a collaboration between the kids program and the women program to do something for younger girls.
So that's the future. That's something to look forward to in the future. That'd be great.
It definitely is.
Starting them young.
It definitely is. That's also that's absolutely very important.
Definitely. Oh, that's really good. And kind of so, a school, is it some full time? So do you have like, if
No, let me tell you a little bit about the school then. Well, what we do at Ready School is we do free IT courses for migrants and for refugees, migrants. We are now also expanding to other underrepresented groups, people who have faced digital divide, etc. So this is not going to be just for migrants and refugees anymore, but for people who need support, who feel somehow isolated from society. So our courses at the moment are actually they are twice a week in an afternoon, so from 7 to 9, in the digital career program. In the women program, we do that once a week on Saturdays.
Oh, perfect. I'm just thinking it's so good from an outsider's point of view to listen to this, because for me, and what I've heard a lot is that women stop doing what they want to do or stop learning because they can't fit it in with their lifestyle or their, their home life. So, it's someone that is 60 or 50 or whatever age, it's lovely that they can, do it after work or, after dinner and, all that kind of stuff. It's just, that's one thing that is just stands out for me, is that you've thought about it to the point where it's like, they want to increase their learning, they want to better their opportunities, but they also have to fit it in with what's going on in their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was the idea that we started the courses in the afternoon. However, we realized there were very little women. So we said, what's wrong with that? How can we improve that? So what we did was, we have one mantra here at that school, and that is, it's time to stop talk about refugees and start talking with refugees. So what we did with a couple of roundtables where we invited some of our women students. We did one workshop. We did actually 3 workshops where we invited women and we talked about how we could do this better. And we learned 3 very important things. One was that the timing from 7 to 9 was not good for the women, because if you have children, you're tucking your children in bed. Also, they live very far in camps, and they don't live in central Berlin. So coming and going is very difficult, and it takes time. So they would end up at 11 at home, and it's also, culturally speaking, difficult for some of them. And we said, okay, we can fix that. So we do the courses on Saturdays. But then we have another problem on Saturdays, because the kiddos are closed. And when they have 3 children, they don't have a network here. So they don't have their families, they don't have friends. Where are they going to leave their children? We said, okay, we're going to offer childcare. So we're offering childcare for our courses. And unfortunately, the 3rd lesson was a bit sad. And it also is a facing the hard truth, and that was that when it came to learning, to skills, the women had much less skills than men. So both language skills, in our digital career program, we offer all the courses in English. The women had no skills in English, or very little. Even the ones who had a PhD or had a higher education or used to speak English, they found it very difficult because they were learning German, they had no visibility. So they had forgotten their English. And the second was computer skills. So women actually wanted to start from scratch. Some women had never seen a computer before. Some women, we also had women who didn't know how to read and write, Unfortunately, we had all sorts of things. So we faced a very big dilemma. And we said, okay, so what are we going to do? Are we going to actually pick just those women who can actually do programming? Because to the career program, we do programming courses. Or we're going to actually tackle this need, because it's clear that there is this need. So we said, okay, you know what we're going to do is we're going to try, and we're going to tackle both. So what we did was we did a pilot, and in the pilot we started with the very basic computer courses, and we learned there was so much need there. So we did with 2 levels, and we learned there's so much need there. And we said, okay, let's start a semester where we have very basic computer courses, where we teach the first one, and that was my decision. I said, well, let's do a course where we say your very first introduction to a computer. Because we as women doubt ourselves, and if we're going to a computer course and we've never seen a computer, we're going to say, oh, everybody else knows something more, and we're going to feel reluctant. So if you name the course your very first introduction to a computer, you're just telling them we have no expectation, we're going to teach you everything from scratch. And that worked really well. And then we have a basic computer course where we actually, women who have worked before with the computer, will help them improve skills in Office, like Word and Excel, and navigating Windows, navigating the internet, the email, etc. So basically, skills to become a skilled user. And then we said, okay, but this is not all we can do. So we started with 2 courses where we said, okay, let's teach women some skills to get online with their products. If they have products and things they want to sell, let's try and give them the skills to sell them online. And the second was, okay, let's give them the skills to actually navigate safely. So we started a course on Intro to Cybersecurity. So this was how we started, and then it was 4 courses, 4 classes, and we already had 80 students in the first semester. Now we're just finishing the second semester. We have 100 students, and we have 7 classes. And one of which is also Intro to Programming.
Wow.
So the program is growing, there's a lot of interest, and now for us, the biggest challenge is actually stopping, not growing anymore, to a maximum of 8 classes, and try to actually do those better. But always the problem is funds and all that, so there is a lot of challenging, but what is actually a good problem to have is that there is a lot of demand for our courses, and there is a lot of word of mouth, so our students refer their friends and their family to come to our courses, which means that they actually do see a value in it. But also our digital career program, which actually is almost 3.5 years old now, we've had a lot of successful examples, because what we do here at Ready School is not just give them technical skills, but we have another important mantra, and it is it's 50% about what you know, and it's 50% about who you know.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is also we try to give them networks, like very important for us to help them build a professional network. You know, when you flee your own country, you don't bring your network with you. Sometimes you don't even bring your diploma, you know. So when you come here, you find yourself like a fish without water. You find yourself without anything or nothing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring a lot of companies. We do company visits. We do events like HR events. We do small fairs, like career fairs, etc. So every opportunity to give them a taste of what it is to apply for a job, what it is, what it is to talk to employer, to interview, etc. So we also focus on giving them these soft skills as well, and we do workshops on CV writing, etc. Now we're trying to put a structure in it as well, and we are starting a career office program that will only deal with actually giving the students these skills, and also the opportunity for an internship. We're also looking into bringing more coaching. So we have a coaching program. We're partnering with JP Morgan to help us build a coaching program for our students, so that each student can get access to a working professional in Germany once a month for 3 months, so that they get some guidance in terms of how these skills that they're getting in our courses can actually, turn into a career, and how they can actually approach this very strange work market for them, because it's different, it's strange, the way they write their CV, the way they got a job back home, it's totally different. And we don't understand it, we don't grasp it initially, but it's a big impediment for them. It's a big roadblock just to mentally understand how to do this differently. So we're also trying to help with that.
But as much as there are so many blocks and so many outcomes, the overall end goal is incredible. And it's uncomprehendable, because it's literally you go through so much hardship, and then these guys will work really, really hard, just as you do. And although they've got the skills, you could just end it there, but it's not. It's looking to the future. It's looking what you can do, to get them employment, and to carry it on, which it's just amazing. It is really amazing.
Our approach is to actually use technology and technical skills to actually help people integrate, help people have better lives. And this is our mission, and this is what we're trying to do. And we just realized that just giving them the technical skills to tell them, do whatever you want to do, it's not working. It wouldn't be working. And initially we would do, because the school was small, there was, we would do this one-to-one, we would help with personal connections, etc. But now that the school is growing, there is need to put more structure in it. There is need to bring other people who can help our students, with these soft skills and with this mentorship. It is very important to put those critical IT skills that they get in practice and in actually to make the best of them.
It's getting all the skills together incredible. Do you know where we are on those questions? I think did you want me to get them up? Do you have them?
I have it here. So Okay, the second question is, what would you say from your experience that you've seen improvements in diversity over the years? This is a very difficult question, and the reason I think that it's difficult is because I think it's very difficult to give a unbiased answer to this. Because as you grow older, you of course have found your way, and if you have been successful, you know how to, who are your champions, who are your friends, you know how, but you're also frustrated from the path. It's not an easy path. So you can see both ways. So it's very difficult to be unbiased. But what I can say is that there is much more awareness of the importance of diversity. So I don't know if there are more women now than there were when I just started my career 15 or more years ago. I cannot say that. What I can say is that there is more awareness of the importance of diversity, and I think this is a very good step. If you look at the numbers, unfortunately, there are less women in tech now than there was in the 1960s. Yes, unfortunately, there are less. So the numbers are not showing a very good story, but what is important is that now people are talking about it. And of course, when people start talking about something, that's the first step to a solution. So what I can say is that there is much more awareness about the importance of diversity, the importance of having both sexes and having diverse team in building our digital future, because the future is digital. We're talking about artificial intelligence actually ruling over our lives. And if it's only men doing that, then of course we're going to live in a more and more biased world. Not because the man was going to do that hate women, but because they understand their problems much better than they understand ours. Yeah. That's normal. So that's why this is a very important topic right now. And the fact that we're talking about it more is really very positive, I'd say. But in terms of numbers and in terms of improvements, I think there is a lot. I think we've done steps forward and step backwards as societies. So it depends on which way you look at it.
It's almost like opinions and views need to be put into practice, as opposed to just, we're getting there, but it's quite a snail pace, if you will.
Yeah, it's not, but it's also not an easy task. And my take on this, and what we're trying to raise awareness of, is because I keep telling people this. Everybody is so concerned about bringing more women in tech, and that's perfect. That's a legitimate question, because we need more women in tech. But I always challenge people and I say, okay, so we as a society need to bring more women in tech. But my question is, what are we as a society and as companies doing for the women who are in tech? How are we supporting them? How are we supporting a woman who is the only one in a team of 15 men? How are we supporting her from not being sexually harassed, from not being bullied, from not being made feel stupid just because she's a woman? How are we doing this as companies, And that's where we need to start, because if we do that, then it's going to be easier to bring more women in tech. Because, we have, I think we don't want to admit it, but we have the question why we have so little women in tech. Studying IT is not the easiest subject. IT is a natural sciences university, degree, diploma, whatever. So it's not a walk in the park. Studying IT takes a lot of years from your life, and I am a living proof of that, It's not easy. It's a very difficult subject to study. It has a lot of complexity, etc. It's getting easier and easier because now IT is part of our daily lives. These are concepts that are easiest to grasp. But when I started studying, it was very different, very difficult, and it still is. So my question is, why would a smart woman in the Western world go into an IT university, go through a very difficult education, get a diploma, then once you have it, you go to a workplace that is going to be toxic, in which just because you are a woman, people are not going to take you seriously the same way they're going to take your classmates, which probably was worse than you in their results, but just because you are a woman. And we all know that. That's how it's going to be, because that's how it is. So there is no motivation for a Western girl to do it. So this is very important to understand, motivation. And that's why the point that I've been trying to make in the last meetings or presentation or representing their Ready Digital Women program is, well, we need to bring more women in tech. And if we can't actually motivate within today, women in Europe and in the Western world, well, why don't we start with refugee women? They have the motivation. They need to get a job. They need to get a better life. So going into an industry where there is need, there you have it. So there is a huge potential in refugee and migrant women to help us kind of win this war of numbers in the gender diversity in tech. Things are very simple, unfortunately. We try to complicate them. We try to look into very, but if there is a toxic environment for women in tech, no one who is sane in their mind is going to choose that. Ask every man that has actually been sitting in a room where there's only men and there is a woman. Is he going to advise his daughter to go into that? He won't. So how do we expect to have more women in tech? It's a very, very simple problem. So motivation is very important, and empowering women in this reality is very important. Bringing case studies in companies and corporates and the society in general to be more aware of this is very important. And then it changes by itself. We all aspire to have a good life, a good career. Women also want to have some more work-life balance. But if you're not going to get it, why go through the trouble? So the motivation is not there.
Absolutely. Another thing that people do talk about in women in tech and this kind of sector is the whole having children thing. So with the whole maternity leave and things like that, what are your views on that? Because, unfortunately, there are some people out there that would say, I don't want to employ women because they have babies and they go off and they lose me money and all that kind of stuff.
So let's just ban women from the planet and not have babies. That would be my answer to that. No, well, one of the things that we're trying also to do at Ready School is also this experience with having childcare. And my vision for Ready School would be to have like this a place where we can have just for women to learn, or we can have daycare. We can have women come and learn about technology and have a maker space and all things just for women. Because companies need to understand, if you are told that you are a problem, you will start thinking of yourself as a problem. And everybody is being told that women maternity leave is a problem. Why on earth is that a problem? Women work until they're 6 months on maternity leave, and then they take 1 year of maternity leave. More and more men now are taking maternity leave. Why don't you actually make like a childcare, flexible hours, people working from home? Less and less this is going to be a problem. There is no one who is more motivated than a mother. There is no one who is more motivated to actually make a better work, make a better job, make their children and their family proud than a mother. Motivation and passion are very important factors.
Big attribute.
We live in a world when we should appreciate that more. So, yes, women have to give birth, otherwise there's not going to be a world 10 years from now, But why not make this the couple's problem? Why not make this not a problem, but something to be cherished? We're actually experiencing having children in classrooms. It's amazing. It's amazing to see a mother like wearing one of those things, sitting in front of the computer with their child crawling on the floor. It is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible by being empathetic, by understanding that this is a fact of life and it doesn't have to be diminishing. Instead, it has to be empowering. This can happen. Women can be much more productive than men, and I strongly believe that. I really strongly believe that. It's just because we live in a society that somehow has been more designed for man and for man's needs, then we can see more the results of a man's work than of women's work. It's not like that. We are different, we're men and women, but the contributions that we make to society, the contribution that we make to work is the same. We come from different perspectives, but the result you know, it could be totally similar.
You know, as you said though, different perspectives make better, you know, better work, better work production. You know, there's been times, so we recruit for product design. Don't know how much you know about that, but there's been products where they've been created and all have been an all-male team.
Yeah.
And then one woman would have come in and gone, what about this? And they've all gone,